Tropical Storm Melissa will likely develop into a Category 5 hurricane in the coming days, and I'm expecting catastrophic impacts for people here in the Caribbean. If you've been tuning into my channel for any length of time, you know I don't use words like this. And if you're new to the channel, you're thinking, here's another guy hyping up another storm system. Listen, that is not the case. I am quite concerned about this storm system. So we're going to go over all the latest information that we have. There'll be timestamps littered throughout the entire video. We're going to discuss a lot. There's a lot to go over. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And if anybody has anything I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. Let's get going tonight. So this is Tropical Storm Melissa. It has not changed much since this morning if you tuned into that video. It's still just sitting here in the central portions. I would say it's more so in the Eastern Caribbean rather than the Western Caribbean, but let's just call it the central, right? And it's popping off intense convection. This is indicated by the colors you see on your screen, these whites and pinks. That means we have colder cloud tops, which means we have taller storms, taller updrafts. And what I'm trying to say is we have a lot of strong storm activity associated with Tropical Storm Melissa. Now, it looks like there's a lot going on, but under the hood, we still have a sloppy tropical storm system. So, you can't just look at this and immediately assume, wow, this is already a powerful storm system. It's at the beginning stages of becoming one, but it's still not really well put together right now, even though it kind of looks like it is on the screen. So this is just moving at a whopping 2 miles per hour, not fast at all. So let's continue to move forward. Like I said, moving west-northwest at 2 miles per hour. And if you look at this and right off the dot, you're probably thinking, Mitch, this cone looks extremely weird. It's very jumbled up together. Why is that? Well, it's because this storm system is going to be moving so slow. So all the S's are jammed up beside each other. Then things begin to spread apart a little bit. The H stands for hurricane. The S for a tropical storm. The M stands for major hurricane. Anytime I say major hurricane in this video, I mean a Category 3 or stronger hurricane. So, from 2 p.m. Friday to, 2 p.m. Monday, it's only going to go from here to here. Here's a better way to look at this. It's called Zoom Earth. So this will likely maintain tropical storm status all the way through about the middle portion of this weekend. Then it's expected to become a Category 1 hurricane by sometime Saturday afternoon. Then a major Category 3 hurricane by Sunday afternoon. So that's a 24-hour period. It's forecast to become an 80-mile-per-hour hurricane Saturday afternoon, then a 115-mile-per-hour Category 3 hurricane by Sunday afternoon. So, that is a huge increase. And then from Sunday afternoon to Monday afternoon, it goes to a Category 4 storm. But listen, I think this could be a Category 5 hurricane by the time we get into Monday. We continue to have hurricane watches here in Haiti. We continue to have tropical storm watches up for Jamaica. There hasn't been a lot that's changed in the last 24 hours with the watches and the warnings and things like that. And that is because this thing is likely going to stay south before it jolts north and brings a lot of impacts to a lot of people here in the Caribbean. But this is the latest cone. There ain't a whole lot of movement with this between now and early next week. Pretty wild stuff here. So let's go over some model guidance. The first thing we'll go over is the Euro. We'll initialize all model guidance off with Friday morning. So this is not tomorrow morning. It's Friday morning, October the 24th. The Euro says this is not going to strengthen much between now and then. It's around 1,000 millibar pressure storm right now. The Euro thinks it'll be about that here in the next 36 hours or so by Friday morning. So remember, the more this number drops, the stronger the storm system. And watch how much it drops over the weekend, especially in the early next week. So we're going to take this into, let's just go in kind of like 24-hour periods here. So we're going to go to Saturday morning. This begins to drop to a 993 storm. Jamaica's here, Cuba's here, Hispaniola here, Bahamas, Turks, Caicos Islands here, and we gotta remember to cover the Cayman Islands also, because if this continues to tick west, we got trouble there also. So we continue to move this forward here, and we go to Saturday afternoon, and then we get into Sunday afternoon. This is around a Category 2 hurricane based off what the Euro is saying. And then we get into Monday afternoon. If I just said Saturday afternoon, I meant to just say Sunday. So we're into Monday morning here. 949 millibar low. That's probably a Category 3 major hurricane. And then we get into Tuesday. That's when it starts some kind of north progression here, begins to move further north. 939, when the European model is showing a strong hurricane like this, to me that screams high-end hurricane potential as far as strength. 939, Jamaica here. This thing for a few days kind of meanders south of Jamaica, and then on the Euro, it actually makes a landfall on the western sections of Jamaica sometime Monday into Wednesday of next week. If you're tuning in from that area, which I know a lot of people are, first off, hey. Second off, don't view all this model, guys, as exactly what's going to happen. This will change. It'll tweak a little bit, but we're certainly looking like next week for you guys. It's a 929 millibar low. That's a category 4 or 5 hurricane. That would bring catastrophic impacts. And then it moves north of Jamaica, gets between Jamaica and Cuba, and makes a second landfall into eastern Cuba as a category 4 or 5 storm. Obviously, weekends continues to bring some impacts to Haiti with, the outer bands. I think this could be a very large storm system, and then it cruises through the Turks Caicos Islands, Bahamas, really southern Bahamas, as we're getting into Thursday morning of next week. This is a week, over a week from right now, and then it starts to get out in the North Atlantic. We'll cover past this here in a bit. Just let's focus here on the Caribbean. Now, I'm not going to show you any other operational runs, the global runs. The GFS is horrible. It's done awful with the storm system. We're going to go right to the hurricane models because I do believe what they're showing as far as strength. Some people might not. I do. So we'll start off with the HF. I think this is the HFA model. HFA model. Okay, we're going to start off Friday morning again, showing a 991 millibar low. Let's go on and move this into Saturday morning. Already has this is around a category 1 or 2 hurricane. Jamaica's slipping up here on your screen. That's Haiti right there. And then we get into Sunday morning. By Sunday morning, this hurricane model, the HFA model, is wanting this to become a category 4 or 5 storm already. This will probably be, if I'm gauging this off millibar, I would say, a category 4 storm. Watch this. This is a 3-hour period. This is like 8 a.m. Sunday. This is 11 a.m. Sunday. That millibar drops by 10. That is rapid intensification. And then we get into Monday. It's a 908 millibar hurricane. That's easily a high-end category 5 hurricane. And then we get into Monday afternoon. These hurricane models only go 126 hours out. So this only takes us to about Monday midday. The southern shoreline of Jamaica is right here. So I would imagine 24 hours past this will begin to turn north. It's looking like the Monday and the Tuesday, maybe late Tuesday night time frame is when this system wants to finally start to get north. We're starting to see trends with that now. The HFB model initializes it as a 993, still a tropical storm. It's a category 1 hurricane by Saturday morning. By Sunday morning, it drops like 50 millibars to a category 5 hurricane. So the HFB model thinks it's going to go from a Cat 1 to a Cat 5 in about 24 hours. And Jamaica's right here. I'm telling you, this is quite concerning. And we go all the way out to Monday midday. It's an 884 millibar low. It's sub 900. And somebody's probably saying there's no way it's going to get that strong. I thought the same thing with Hurricane Milton too. When these hurricane models were popping off these crazy intensity forecasts, I would say never. I think that this has the possibility to becoming one of the strongest hurricanes in the Atlantic. I'm not saying it's going to be, but I think it could become one of the strongest in the Atlantic in history. I do. HMON model, what does it do? It's a little bit slower with the strengthening of this. Saturday morning, it's still a tropical storm south of Jamaica. That's Jamaica right there. Okay? And then we get into Sunday morning. That's when the HMON model begins to take off of the storm system. Sunday morning, and then all the way to about, that was Monday morning. This is about midday Monday. It's a 937. That would make it around a category 4 or so hurricane. Okay, what about the HWRF model? This is the outlier run here. And this is the 12Z hurricane model runs. It wants to take this sort of due northwest. So it kind of slips in between Jamaica, which is right here, close enough to bring a lot of impacts to eastern Jamaica, Cuba, and Haiti right here. And it gets right in between all of those areas I just mentioned and just spins around and stalls out. And by Sunday midday, this is a category 3 or 4 hurricane right in the middle of all those areas I just mentioned. So it doesn't slip and then eventually makes landfall into Cuba as early as Monday. So it doesn't slip south of Jamaica. That is something we need to watch. Now, one of the best things you can look at, and this is off Tomer Berg's site. It's the site is down here. My face might be in the way, but it's basically type in polarwx.com. This is something he created. It's called the Grand Ensemble. It merges basically all model data except the UK Met together and throws it all on an output for us and shows every single member. All those little real grayed out lines, that's every single member. Okay, so this has continued to tick west. I would say about 24 hours ago, this was kind of going more so like this. Okay, now it's way over here. This is one of the most reliable things you can look at. And look how close the southern tip of Florida is now. And I'm going to show more of this further north here in a bit. But you're starting to see a lot of little lines going to the East Coast. But if we're focusing in on down here, this ensemble run, the mean, the average, which is the black line, it's pretty much following the Euro and what most of the hurricane models are showing. So, and it's pretty much what the National Hurricane Center cone is really locking into. Okay, so it's pretty wild, and it really spaces out up here. All right, so what about impacts? We don't know a whole lot about this, and you can tell the National Hurricane Center is kind of keeping things about 3 to 4 or 5 days out ahead of us, and that's very smart. So this is the rainfall forecast. I know a lot of people down here in the Caribbean go by millimeters. So the southern shoreline of Dominican Republic and Haiti going for around 150 to 200 millimeters of rain. I'm going to have a lot of hiccups with words doing so many videos over the next several days. That's 8 to 12 inches of rain. And it's starting to already get, and this is between now and around the 25th, basically through about mid to later portion of this weekend. You already got portions of eastern Jamaica into this. So that's 150 to 200 millimeters of rain already forecast. The yellow is 100 to 150. So that's 4 to 8 inches of rain already for eastern sections of Jamaica. So I expect this to change a lot. Winds, I mean, listen, this is the chance to see tropical storm force winds between now and I think this is the next 5 days. Okay, I mean, Jamaica, you're pretty much sitting in a 40 to 50% chance to see 40 mile per hour wind gusts or higher here in the next 5 days. But I expect this to change, confidence to increase, and as this system gets closer. But just remember, between now and early next week, this system is not going to go right towards Jamaica. More than likely, it's going to kind of go over here and then drift south of Jamaica. So if you're tuning in from that area, you're thinking, well, why do we not have higher chances? This only goes out between now and the next 5 days. And this is the earliest arrival to see those tropical storm force wind gusts, 40 mile per hour wind gusts or higher. So here's the timeline. You can pause this if you want. You can see it as early as Friday morning in Jamaica. You can start to see some nasty conditions in Haiti and areas of the Dominican Republic by tomorrow evening, and even Cuba. But you see how the entire thing tilts this way. I mean, even in the areas of Central America, Honduras, Nicaragua, you need to certainly watch this, because this could certainly pull a wild card and just go right into Central America. Anything can happen, right? So now that we went over all that, one might ask, I know I would as a weather geek, why is this thing going to move so slow in the next several days? Well, the easiest way to explain this is the fact that this is basically in very weak steering currents. It's just kind of in a dead zone between a few different areas of flow in the upper levels of the atmosphere. So we'll start off, and this is the Euro for tomorrow morning. I'm going to draw on this a little bit. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Our tropical system is right here. It's most likely still going to be a tropical storm when we wake up tomorrow morning. I don't expect much strengthening. So there is a trough up here, a lot of flow across areas of the lower 48. So this is going like this, the flow. Okay. You see these wind barbs like this wind barb right here. You see how the flag portion is on this side. It's pointing that way. That means the flow's coming out of that way. Okay. So our flow is going like this up here, our tropical system right here. At the same time, there is a high pressure right here, with the flow going around this high pressure like this. Okay, and we got some flow being felt a little bit further away from the central high also. And we also got a weak, it's a weaker high pressure kind of right here, and flow, very weak flows going around this like that. But listen, I'm just kind of drawing this one. I really don't think this is influencing much at all. And in fact, our system is going to just kind of continue to move away from this influence anyways. So to kind of wrap all that up, steering current right here, and right here. And this system's kind of right smack in the middle of that. So it's not being tugged much at all. And because it's still a weaker storm system, it's more so it's not feeling much of that flow aloft. When I say aloft, in the upper levels of the atmosphere anyways. So it's kind of just getting pushed by the trade winds in the Caribbean. So it's just, there's just nothing dramatic in the upper levels of the atmosphere really steering this one way or the other. And if you kind of continue to move this, that remains to be the case. And I know our bright blob of color right down here, that is Melissa. It just kind of drifts to the west, nothing really yanking it one way or the other. And in fact, watch what it does as it gets just south of Jamaica. It drifts southwest a little bit. So you might think, well, why is it drifting southwest? Well, that is more than likely because our high pressure gets a little bit more strung out. Probably the center of it's maybe right into here. The flow around it, it's probably going like this, and this is nosing out a little bit more. So our tropical system is probably feeling that a little bit. And I know I just drew this arrow right into Central America. That's not where I think it's going to go. I'm drawing that because that's the direction it gets pulled by the flow of these arrows I just did like this around this high pressure. So it's almost like a bit of a nudge of this high pressure sort of builds on top, especially the northwest side of the system of Melissa, and kind of yanks it southwest for a period. And what does that do? That pulls Melissa into an even more favorable environment deeper into the Caribbean that will promote it to rapidly intensify into what I think is going to be a powerful Category 5 hurricane. Now, eventually, as we move forward here, this thing is very strong, and a stronger tropical system always wants to try to gain latitude. It wants to get polar, right? It wants to get north. So as it really gathers strength, I think it naturally just tries to get north. It also begins to feel this tug up here. Okay, so once it gets right here, not a super fast progression, but then a trough digs down and it really speeds up as it feels the flow around this trough digging down right here. So you can see this thing really take off and get slung up into the North Atlantic. Another way to look at this is I'm going to freeze it right here. This is for Sunday evening this coming weekend. And you just see a blue blob here. And you see a whole lot of white. You don't see any kind of this pink here or this blue here. This is kind of lower pressure. This is higher pressure. Flow moves around both of these features differently. And then flow moves around our actual tropical system, which is low pressure itself, cyclonically. So this is just chilling in a bunch of blank space, right? A bunch of white. And in this case, the output you're showing, it's just weak steering motion. There's no strong upper features in the upper levels of the atmosphere that really yank this in one way or the other. So what makes me so confident that we could have one of the strongest hurricanes on record here in the Atlantic? And you might be thinking, man, that's a little much to put that in the title, to say that, to whatever. Whatever you may think. And listen, I get it. Part of doing what I do is taking a shot. And if I don't believe it could happen, then I'm not going to say it. Okay. But the easiest thing that we know that we can explain here is the fact that, I'm going to put an L here, our tropical system right in here. It's just going to be hanging out in these very warm sea surface temperatures. I'm talking about, this is the entire Caribbean. 30, 31 degrees Celsius. You convert that to Fahrenheit, folks, that's mid to upper 80s. And in some areas, the sea surface temperature is probably close to 90 degrees. But one thing that I have not mentioned a lot is it's not just warm at the surface of the ocean. It's pretty warm below the surface of the ocean too. So you might think, well, this could sit in one spot, turn up the waters and really cool it down. I think it could. But even the water below the surface of the ocean is still warm. There's really not a body of water on planet Earth quite like the Gulf and areas of the Caribbean this time of the year. And this time of the year is no different. This time around is no different just because we have not tapped into this area of the ocean so far this hurricane season. So plenty of fuel as far as sea surface temperatures and just the temperatures of them. The next thing to explain is a little bit more difficult to explain. Right now, we're going to start this off with Friday morning, but right now, between Friday now and Friday morning, this system's going to continue to deal with some shear out the west. And I think that it could deal with a little bit of shear out the west for the life of the system. But right now, it's really being affected by it more. So there's some flow in the upper levels, and this is our system where the L is. You can see these lines with the arrowheads embedded into it, kind of going right up against the storm system. This is going to create some wind shear probably between now and the next couple days. And this is why the intensity forecast doesn't change much off the National Hurricane Center between now and the next 1 to 2 days. That'll change as we get into the weekend early next week. Watch what happens. Watch how this number bottoms out on the HFA model. Okay, it's going to go 992 to the low 900s. Okay, watch how it changes. It's getting to Saturday. This is getting into Sunday. This is getting into Monday. And we'll stop it right here. This thing gets tucked in. It's a 910 millibar low, folks. This thing gets tucked deeper into the Caribbean. The system itself in the low to mid levels is spinning like this. Okay? In the upper levels, on top of the system, the air is being dispersed out. We call this divergence aloft. And in some cases around this system, it's actually spinning around anticyclonically on top of the storm. Storm is spinning cyclonically on top of the storm. It's almost spinning anticyclonically. So your initial thought might be, and when I was learning this, I thought this, well, wouldn't that mess up the cyclonic rotation of the storm and kind of mess with the structure or the development of it? No, it doesn't. So much air being pushed out away from the storm on the upper levels of the storm aloft actually allows for air to rise. And it doesn't matter if it's going anticyclonically or just being dispersed out away. When a lot of air is being dispersed out away from the storm in the upper levels, and this is the upper levels, what you're looking at, 200 millibars, well above the actual mid to low level circulation of this storm. As air is being dispersed out away, this allows for more air to rise. And if you continue just to have a continuous cycle of that, of rising air, dispersed, rising air, dispersed, this allows for kind of an exhaust system for the storm, a ventilation cycle. So if we know that it has a consistent just feeding of rising air, it continues to fire off shower and storm activity. Shower and storm activity creates a moist environment. A moist environment allows this to rapidly intensify. So it honestly it taps into an upper wind environment. And then, of course, you match up the thermodynamics with the sea surface temperatures. You cross both of those together, and this enters an environment that is almost limitless as far as the strength. The only thing that could really make this sort of fall apart is its own self. Eye wall replacement cycles, things like that. It's honestly quite worrisome what we're seeing with this. And you can see, we start off Friday. The brown is dry air. The green is moist air. We know that tropical systems like moist air. You can see there's a lot of dry air Friday morning, really close to the northwest and western side of the system. Most of the, almost said green air, most of the moist air is kind of dispersed off way over here. Now watch how that changes as the upper wind pattern changes. This thing creates a massive moist environment, allowing for this to just rapidly intensify into who knows what. Just an incredibly strong hurricane. So I'm very worried about this system, guys. I am. And listen, for my folks tuning in from say Bermuda, the East Coast, or anybody tuning in, a lot of people just assuming this is not going to affect the U.S. It blows my mind the amount of comments. It's so selfish to think like this. Mitch, and it stinks. I'm going to be honest with you. I had a long-time viewer that just consistently started making a lot of smart remarks, thinking that What's the point of talking about this if this is not going to affect the U.S.? And, I just had to mute them because, it's just selfish to think that just because it's not going to affect the U.S., then it's not worth talking about. Guys, I've always talked about the Caribbean, but let's focus on the U.S. and the Eastern U.S. So this is the Euro, guys, all right? This big area that you see dropping down right here, this is a big trough or sort of an upper trough digging down. You see this at the bottom of our screen right here? This is Melissa creeping north as we're getting into the evening of the 30th of October. Okay, this is getting yanked north with the flow at the bottom edge of this trough. So this is going to pull this system just like that. So if we continue to move, is there emerging? Not really, but this does eventually, the leftovers of Melissa, as we're getting into like Halloween, get entangled with this trough. And remember, the flow is going just like this. You can see the wind barbs, and it's kind of getting yanked up like this. If this is going to get slung into Nova Scotia, it actually does, into Atlantic Canada. And if you look right here, if we look at the actual output of this, here is Melissa. How close does it get? Well, it doesn't get close enough to where it actually hits the U.S., and we're all the way out into the evening of October 31st, but it's combining with already energy associated with the trough, and this is just combining into just a huge storm system. Look at the blue showing up on your map. Who would have thought of making a video talking about snow and the tropics? And the moisture kind of getting yanked up from Melissa with this storm system already in place is creating just an apocalyptic type snowstorm, not a forecast up here in areas of eastern Canada, and even heavy snow into Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont. And even if you look at Atlantic Canada, this is the Euro. Here it comes. That's Melissa right there. This is 10 days from now. Gets thrown into Nova Scotia, Newfoundland. There's so many areas to talk about. And I know there's people who's been tossing around the word Sandy. The Canadian shows basically Sandy 2.0. That's not Mitch. That's not me saying that's what's going to happen. But this is what the Canadian, it's not a great model. This is what the Canadian model does. Kind of pinches off this trough, dives down, yanks on the leftovers of Melissa, and it actually combines with it, and all of a sudden everything wraps up, and this energy gets thrown right into the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast. And what does that look like at the surface? It looks like Hurricane Sandy. And this is Halloween too. It'd be a spooky mess. It's so wild, folks. And I know some people might think, Mitch, what's the point of talking about this? From a weather geeking out standpoint, this is just wild. There's enough cold air getting wrapped into this that there's snowing in the higher elevations of West Virginia, the Smokies, and like Boone. And that's exactly what happened with Sandy. So for folks who are thinking, well, that's just kind of a one-run outlier. Well, I would say we need to watch this because more runs are teasing at this than it did 24 hours ago. This is the Google DeepMind, which is a great ensemble that we've been looking at a lot. You got a few members now liking the idea of that scenario. So to wrap this up, guys, we got to figure out the Caribbean first. We got to watch out for the Bahamas, the Turks, Caicos Islands. It's going to hang out around this area for the next week. The Cayman Islands. Okay? Next area to watch out for is maybe Bermuda, maybe the Northeast, Atlantic Canada, certainly. And when I say Atlantic Canada, I mean Newfoundland, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, all the areas up there. But I'm very, very concerned about this, guys. This just has something weird written all over it. And I kind of went out of my comfort zone and took a chance with the wording I used, but I'm just confident that this is going to be a monster hurricane in the Caribbean in the coming days. So God bless all y'all. If I'm wrong, y'all come for me. But it just screams high in potential as far as the strength of this hurricane. So that's all I got. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all. We'll do it again tomorrow morning. Have a good night.